Welcome to Mysteries to Die For and this toe tag. I am T.G. Wolf and I'm here with Jack, my piano player and producer. This is normally a podcast where we combine storytelling with original music to put you at the heart of a mystery. Today is a bonus episode that we call a toe tag. It's the first chapter from a fresh release in the mystery, crime, or thriller genre. And today's featured release is Round Up the Unusual Suspects by Elizabeth Crowens. Okay, so Round Up the Unusual Suspects is a historical cozy. B. Norman Investigations is back at Warner Brothers Studio at the behest of Jack Warner himself. A stagehand has been found murdered on one of the sets, and Babs Norman and Guy Brandt are hired not only to find the killer, but to make sure there isn't a second body in the wings. But the PIs have more than just murder on their minds. There's Babs' Japanese gardener she's hiding from the authorities, Guy's draft number being called, Guy's maybe new boyfriend, Babs' fanatic suitor, and Hollywood being Hollywood, all as World War II rages. Bottom line, Round Up the Unusual Suspects is for you if you like Casablanca and World War II era American stories told from a cozy perspective. Alright, so let's jump into Chapter 1. "Nobody's allowed to die on one of my sets," hollered Jack L. Warner. "Who's the jackass who wants to halt my production?" Flanked by his personal assistant, Bill Schaefer, Jack dragged Hal B. Wallace, his head of production, over to the soundstage filming Yankee Doodle Dandy, starring James Cagney. He swung open the door as soon as the red warning light turned off and stormed inside. Michael Curtis, the film's director, dumped his megaphone and threw down the gauntlet. The parade band on stage accompanied his rage with a drum roll and cymbals. Warner nabbed Curtis's discarded megaphone. "Rally the troops, all of them. I have a studio-wide announcement." Curtis, turning red, clapped his hands over his ears. The actors and background extras, dressed in woolen military uniforms, stopped marching and sweltering under the hot lights. The live orchestra fell silent. "Maybe, sir, we should check out the dead body first?" Schaefer suggested with hesitation. At Warner's command, an assistant rolled back a piece of movable scenery to reveal a prone figure, an unknown young man wearing bloodied street clothes, but with a swastika carved on his neck. "Are you sure he's dead?" Warner asked. "He looks like he's just sleeping on the job." Backing up a few steps, Hollis broke out into a cold sweat. "Has anyone been able to identify him?" The assistant director strained to keep self-control but trembled. "Everyone denies knowing him. Our director, however, insisted that we ignore him and stay on schedule." Wallace, turning green, gulped down his rising bile but regained his voice. "That's unconscionable. We should secure the set. Everyone will have to swear to secrecy, and under no circumstances is the press to know about this." Schaefer clutched his stomach and his knees became unsteady. He grabbed a chair to brace himself. Jack L. strutted the soundstage like Napoleon planning a counterattack and examined the casualty of war with a sense of unnerving calm. He wrinkled his nose and instructed his assistant, "Better call Burbank PD. Won't take long under these broiling lights for him to stink to high heaven." The actors, who remained in the stance of military attention, were about to wilt. Offstage on both sides waited singers and female tap dancers dressed in skimpy satin costumes as a tribute to Uncle Sam. "At ease," Warner shouted, accompanied by a round of relieved sighs. "You think you can direct my film picture?" Curtis shouted in his choppy version of Hungarian bastardized English. "I can and I will," Warner barked. "Don't forget, I sign your paychecks. Furthermore, I still can't understand why you summoned half the musicians union to play instruments off camera when you could have used a recording. Money wasted." Curtis glared, fire in his eyes. "It's because they're featured on camera at the beginning and at the end of the scene." He cursed in his native Hungarian tongue and stormed off the set. Jimmy Cagney, the star of the show, followed. "You can find me in my dressing room." Undaunted by his director and lead actor's histrionics, Warner demanded to see the production notes. After a quick glance, he scraped fingernails through his receding hairline. Too much, can't picture it. Summon your editors and set up a projector. Somewhere, anywhere, on the damn wall if we must. I need to see the dailies and bring me that hot-headed Hungarian Gulagmeister and his la-di-da lead actor. Wallace broke the point of the pencil by slamming it down on the notepad. All these delays. I don't want to hear a word from you about going over budget. I'm the one who makes the final decisions. Respect your commanding officer, Warner admonished his confused subordinate. Wallace gave him a weak salute, but only out of respect. Aye, aye, sir. Warner gave one last look at the body. Go ahead, call the police, he said to Schaefer, and hire those 2 private detectives. Wallace scratched his head with the look as if a screwball comedian had thrown a cream pie in his face. Who? He asked. Warner clenched his jaw. Babs Norman and Guy Brandt, those young kids who solved the Blackbird killer case and saved the cast of the Maltese Falcon. That was a close call for everyone. The phone rang at B. Norman Investigations. Guy picked up and said Jack Warner's assistant was on the line. Babs motioned for him to hand over the receiver. The big boss desires your company, Schaefer told her. If he doesn't mind throwing in 2 mouth-watering prime rib dinners at the smokehouse for us, Babs said, who hadn't eaten all day, we'll consider that his consultation fee. The 2 PI partners headed downstairs to the building's garage, where they now had their own assigned adjacent parking spaces instead of playing roulette for empty spots on the street. Babs put her key into the ignition of her ailing Crosley, the clown car, the brunt of Guy's constant jokes, with a paint job that resembled a motley patchwork. The moment she put her foot on the gas pedal, it made a bone-shaking screech of metal against metal and emitted exhaust that would have choked a triceratops. We're taking mine, Guy said after he stopped wheezing. He rolled up his windows to keep out the foul scent. I can't believe you never had the sense to replace that fossil since it never ran well. They pulled out of the garage, and he donned his sunglasses. Now you're stuck with it since our government stopped new automobile production and only people in vital professions, such as doctors and clergymen, qualify to purchase remaining inventories. Private eyes don't have priority? Guy shook his head. Not in your sweet life. Those assembly lines are being converted to produce tanks, aircraft, and weapons for the military. Mark my words, next thing you know, they'll demand that we ration fuel and rubber for our tires like they do in England. Read the papers if you don't believe me. Guy flashed his Warner Brothers pass to the gate security guard. Babs panicked as she searched inside her purse. I must have left mine in the car. Try flirting, Guy whispered. She snorted in defiance. I will not. Much to her surprise, he sweet-talked his way in, saying, She's with me, and pulled into an empty guest parking spot. When they arrived at the Yankee Doodle soundstage, the crime scene investigation was well underway. The Burbank PD sectioned off the area where the deceased lay, but nearby, Curtis insisted on conducting rehearsals, even if it was too noisy to roll sound. He ordered the gaffer and his electrical crew to prepare lights for the next set of shots. But they went berserk, thinking light was shorting out every time the crime scene photographer flashbulb went off. Curtis insisted his captive cast and crew finish what they started. He'd work around the police, even if it meant yelling and screaming, at the risk of losing his voice, to make sure they kept quiet. Isn't that Jimmy Cagney, your star? Guy looked around for the missing actor. Curtis made an unintelligible grunt and spat into his handkerchief. We shall work around his crybaby tantrums. He launched a new battle with Wallace. You complain that clock's ticking means money. Then why does Warner have to be such a stingy fat cat? Wallace bit his lip to keep from laughing at the director's deliberate jabs at the English language. Our detectives for hire are here. He pointed out Babs and Guy. Jack wants you to perform the entire Yankee Doodle dandy from start to finish. The director stood his ground. That's not how we shoot it. We fall behind schedule. Then Jack gets more and more angry. Warner paced the floor, bellyaching to himself and to any of the cops who would listen. What if Cagney had been the intended victim? Not that I'm glad that this unknown Joe Palooka But you know where I am coming from? The moment Babs saw the corpse, her stomach lurched. Guy took his handkerchief and covered his nose and mouth. Did you find any ID? Found his driver's license in his wallet, said one of the cops. He's got a German-sounding name, Gerhard Sawyer. Warner, holding his script, muscled in on their conversation. I want to see this scene play out from start to finish. Since Cagney left the set, Guy volunteered to stand in and improvise his choreography, but the studio head ignored his suggestion. If that fussy thespian wants to act like a child, I'll just have to take over and go through the motions. Babs took out her notebook. Did anyone hear strange noises? She looked around for reactions, but got none. Did you consider that someone killed Sawyer elsewhere and, for whatever reason, dumped his body backstage? Babs blew anger out of her nose. No one seemed to listen. Wallace gave the PIs an overview to get them up to speed. The film, Yankee Doodle Dandy, is about the life of lyricist and composer George M. Cohan. He performed with his family, and they called themselves the Four Cohans. Playing his father, we've got a famous actor who played the shot-up Captain Jacoby from the Maltese Falcon, Walter Houston. Give My Regards to Broadway is one of Cohen's famous songs, Guy mentioned. We've included that one, along with Over There, all patriotic numbers that helped us endure World War I. Just think, we have a song for every star and a star for every stripe. Wallace stopped and scratched his chin. You know, I rather like that. Must insist on using that quote for our trailer. However, what you see on screen is a show within a show, as if our cinematographer was shooting a documentary. At the beginning and at the end of the scene, the camera will pan, showing an establishing shot of everyone inside the theater. That's where our live orchestra comes in. The Cohens performed in a stage production of a show titled George Washington Jr. The song and dance medley scene has been shooting before everything went haywire, centers on Grand Old Flag. Once edited, it will look like we shot it from start to finish. But since Warner told me you used to be actors, you probably know most of the time we shoot scenes out of order. We'll stop within sections to film close-ups and from different angles. Everyone's curious to see if there are clues about the killer in the footage we shot so far. Babs asked Wallace if he'd drop her a line when the footage was available for viewing. Jack Warner, however, seemed to have his own agenda. He took over as director and insisted on doing a dry run. Up with the curtains, places please, stand by, and on with the show of the century. It's the most original thing to hit Broadway. You know why? Cagney, or Cohen, to be more accurate, is the whole darn US of A squeezed into one pair of pants. Wallace asked the PIs to follow him and take seats with the extras in the audience. How many actors does the scene start off with? Babs asked. Not including the live orchestra and the packed seats filled with the audience, I guess there are about 35, but more will join in later. Lighter on his feet than expected, Warner skipped across the stage and justified substituting for Cagney, who refused to leave his dressing room. Believe it or not, I've had experience as an entertainer. When my brothers and I started our family business, I used to sing in the aisles between screenings. Wallace drew in a breath and released it. There he goes again. The boss loves telling everyone the story of his debut in show business. Often, I wonder whether Jack secretly always wanted to be a performer instead of running a studio. He explained the upcoming scene while everyone blocked the action. Jimmy sings Grand Old Flag. 20 young Boy Scouts stride in from the top of the stairs. Betsy Ross sews the flag, upstage center. 8 more adults, who look like members of a military band, join them in song and advance from upstage right. After that, we cut away to 5 or 6 members of a fife and drum corps. The PIs made every effort to follow Wallace while Warner danced on the stage with the hired actors. Upstage left, a variety of singers marched forward, representing the common man and the working class. Policemen, bakers, bankers, a nurse, miners, railroad workers, showing their solidarity. Everyone turns toward the flag and breaks into My Country 'Tis of Thee in front of the people manning an anti-aircraft gun. Guy, who had been counting on his fingers, lost track. how many would that add? Probably another 30. Central casting must have broken out bottles of champagne after receiving our requisitions. Then the stage curtains close and the spotlight falls on Cagney, downstage right. In come the tap-dancing dames, many bearing American flags. This is where we rival MGM's schmaltzy musicals with their elaborate costumes and choreography. Enter Uncle Sam, played by Walter Houston, and the Statue of Liberty. Then Jimmy wows everyone with his signature dance steps. More female flag bearers emerge from behind the rear curtain. Our stage crew has rigged the floor with conveyor belts, giving the illusion that the actors are marching toward the audience while they're actually staying in place. Otherwise, they'd march right off the stage, said Babs. Correct, but we wouldn't want them to do that, Wallace explained. As a cinematographer pulls back and widens the focal length of his lens, background curtains continue to open until we see a painted backdrop of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Now, I'm no expert in visual effects, but it gives the audience the feelings there must be well over 100 people proceeding down the boulevard. Pretty spectacular, don't you think? The assistant director leapt on stage and reminded Warner that the soldier actors were still on stage, suffering under the scorching lights and waiting for their next order. Sir, we're not rolling camera. We should dismiss them. Tell them it's a wrap until further notice. I won't approve any exorbitant dry cleaning bills for anyone shivitzing in their costumes. With military precision, the assistants rounded up the various groups of performers and shuttled them toward wardrobe. Curtis and James Wong Howe, his cinematographer, remained to discuss how they'd execute the rest of the scene. Warner scribbled a note and handed it to his assistant. Bill, tell these two to drop everything. I'm calling a meeting in order and want them to be present. Schaefer reviewed the memo pad. Sir, you scheduled one with them already. Then he checked his watch. They should be there right now. Jack pointed to Babs and Guy. Then you're coming with me and away from this crime scene. In a rush, he sprinted ahead. Babs shouted loudly enough for him to hear her as he gained distance. We'll need to sign a contract to make our assignment official. Pick up your pace, you slowpokes, and I'll cut you a check after we get there. All right, that is the first chapter of Round Up the Unusual Suspects by Elizabeth Crowens. So the brightest spot in this story is the world that Crowens created. It's 1942, Burbank, California. Warner Brothers Studio, led by Jack Warner, is pushing forward on projects as the world changes. World War II is underway. Pearl Harbor has happened, and now Japanese emigrants and descendants are under orders to turn themselves into internment camps. Emigrants from across Europe have sought refuge, typo in my script there, in North America, including the U.S. The draft is happening, and able-bodied young men from across the country are called to report for duty. Within all the uncertainty and anxiety of the time, Crowens placed a light-hearted adventure/mystery that highlights where people found relief in other people. The cast of Round Up the Unusual Suspects is large and draws in characters you already know, like Humphrey Bogart, Dashiell Hammett, Errol Flynn, and Ingrid Bergman. For fans of Casablanca, Round Up the Unusual Suspects is a behind-the-scene tour of a celebrated film and its stars. There is a lot packed in between these covers. There are many characters, and aside from the famous ones that I just mentioned, I did have some trouble keeping everyone straight. And while mystery is an element, Round Up the Unusual Suspects, to me, read more dominantly as an Americana story, using mystery as a backdrop for seeing who we are back then. Round Up the Unusual Suspect is the third book in the Babs Norman Golden Age of Hollywood Mystery series. I read book 1, but not book 2. This storyline stands on its own. Don't you love when you smush two words together and you get storylands? The storyline stands on its own and doesn't require reading the first books. However, book 1, Hounds of the Hollywood Baskervilles, where dog napping is the crime to be solved, it's just plain fun. I would recommend starting there, but that's from an entertainment standpoint and not from a you need to know what's in there standpoint. Round Up the Unusual Suspects was released from Level Best Books and is promoted by Partners in Crime Tours and is available from online retailers. Check out PICT links in the show notes for connections to all. Now let me introduce our author, Elizabeth Crowens. She is a bi-coastal going between New York and Los Angeles, where she has worn many hats in the entertainment industry. Awards include Lefty nominee for Best Humorous Mystery, Agatha nominee in multiple categories, MWA New York Chapter Leo B. Bernstein Scholarship, NYFA Grant, Eric Hofer Award, Glimmer Train, Killer Nashville Claymore finalist, Killer Nashville Silver Fascia and Top Picks, 2 Grand Prize and 6 First Prize Chanticleer Awards. Crowens writes Golden Age of Hollywood mysteries with humor and alternate history in her Time Travel Professor series. She also has a popular caption contest on Facebook. You can catch up with her on her website, elizabethcrowens.com, Instagram @Crowens_author, and on Facebook, The Real Elizabeth Crowens. Links again are in the show notes. Wondering what to read when you finish up? Round Up the Unusual Suspects? Partners in Crime Tour is your ultimate destination for all things mystery, crime, thriller, and cozy. Since 2011, they've been working to fill bookshelves with gripping and heart-pounding reads. Discover new mystery series and connect with other fans with Partners in Crime. Look up Partners in Crime Tour on the web or your favorite social media. That's Partners in Crime VBT, all one word, .com. And authors, whether you're looking to promote your latest thriller, discover a new mystery, or connect with fellow fans of the genre, PICT has you covered. Check out their promotion options that come with the personal attention of a dedicated coordinator. That's a real word, coordinator. How about coordinator? Join us next week for Season 9, Stuff That Can Kill You. Jason Little is back with another terrifying mystery for you. It's Fatal Crush, where gravity, and everything that comes with it, is our sticky means of murder. All right, Jack, take us out.